Hi Aquarius, welcome to your weekly love reading. So what's going to happen for you this week in love? The Six of Cups, the Devil, the Page of Wands, the Seven of Cups. Okay, so why did this person leave? So there's definitely a sense that this person has felt hurt, as though they feel that you weren't seeing the real them. You perhaps have been really hurt in the past. Perhaps you'd experienced people using and abusing you, or players or something like that. They feel as though you are tarring them with the same kind of brush. And some of you may be saying, well, they proved that to me through their actions, but there's definitely a sense of them picking up that you saw them in a negative light deep down. But some of you were giving and giving and giving to this person still. So they were like thinking, why is she still giving to me? Why is she still being open-hearted and kind and nurturing and investing in me and this relationship if I haven't done much to reciprocate that, or if I've hurt her, or if I've, not really been there for her, or if I chose someone else. So for some of them, they're really feeling as though you weren't loving yourself enough. And this is about an energetic dynamic. If you're not in a place of self-love, if you're not in alignment with that love vibration, then you cannot align with love on the outside. You cannot give or receive love. So there was this misalignment energetically is what I'm feeling, and they just wondered, they felt as though they hadn't done enough in order to earn your love, sort of thing, or they feel as though they hurt you or they mistreated you, and so they were thinking to themselves that you weren't in a place of self-love. They were thinking that you were in love with their potential, or you had some childhood wounds or inner child wounds that you were subconsciously trying to heal, like you were trying to prove something to yourself subconsciously by getting this person to turn around and commit to you. So they felt as though you were in love with their fantasy, or a fantasy that you projected onto them, because they felt like in real life what they'd done wasn't good enough. I was so scared that you would reject the real me and leave me, so I put on a mask and felt I could never take it off again. So this person picked up on some projections that you had, some expectations also that you had, and so there is this sense that they put a mask on. They were trying to blind you from the real them. They were trying to live up to these expectations in certain ways. They may have been acting foolishly with the Fool in reverse. They couldn't really take a leap of faith because they did feel as though if they got too close to you, it would burst that bubble and you'd see the real them, and you may not be happy with the real them. They felt as though you hadn't fully accepted that they weren't fully available to you, either emotionally or physically or both, and so they knew that you hadn't been honest with yourself about that, and so they were hoping that they could wear masks. They were hoping they could impress you or keep you attached to them in some kind of way, so that eventually it would work out between you. But the more that they were wearing a mask, the more it was creating this divide. But I feel like this is where you're mirroring each other. You may have been wearing masks as well because you felt as though this person was rejecting you. And so you may have been giving and giving and giving and wearing masks, trying to mold yourself to be what you want this other person to be. With this Two of Swords, there's definitely a sense that both of you were not being honest with yourselves. There may have been fantasies projected into this connection, i.e. you may have been talking about the future, you may have been both daydreaming about each other, which is what I'm feeling because there is this Two of Wands here. This is daydreaming about each other from afar. This is I feel there's this opposition, like opposing energies within your connection. Like both of you wanted union. Both of you wanted this reconciliation. You both feel as though you're soulmates or twin flames or something significant, like in terms of the soul connection. And you both wanted the relationship on one hand, but then on the other hand, there's all this subconscious fears. There's this devil energy. There's this not feeling good enough. You both had this fear of abandonment and rejection, is what I'm feeling. So this person felt like you weren't in love with the real them. And so indirectly, they felt rejected because you weren't being realistic about who they are or who they were. And so they felt like you were blinded. They felt like you couldn't see beyond those projections. And they were worried that once you did awaken, once you did realize who they truly were, they were worried that there would be a tower moment, you would reject them. So that fear was what was holding them back. But also I do feel it's mirrored. I feel like you were wearing masks. You were projecting a certain image or portrayal of yourself to this person, which wasn't fully realistic. So there's this sense of the connection wasn't fully grounding. You both wanted it to ground, but you both had fears of it creating a tower moment if you got too close, if things got too real. And so this core wound was, the need to learn to love self. Like this person was basing their sense of self-worth on how you were perceiving them, whether you were accepting them or whether you were rejecting them. And I feel like this was your core wound and fear as well. It was this karma that was going on, fears that this person wasn't going to accept the real you, so you wearing masks and all things like that. There was this devil energy. This is saying your connection had a lot of this fear and wounds and shadow side, the karma that needed to come up to be healed. The reason why this person left was because your connection was going in some kind of circle, some kind of karmic cycle. There may have been an unhealthy dynamic where you were both holding on to each other in some kind of way, i.e. there may have been codependency, but at the same time a fear of things becoming too real. I feel as though both of you may have been totally convinced in your minds that you both really wanted this, and you may have both even worked hard to ground things and get things off the ground between you both. But then there was this opposing force deep down, the fear, and basically the misalignment, not loving yourselves, being more in alignment with the fears, feeling like everything's personal, feeling like everything's a life or death situation. So a fear vibration, not knowing your own worth within both of you. And so that was what was the energy that was blocking you. It was meaning you couldn't align with love. You couldn't align with harmony with each other because you didn't feel harmony within yourselves as individuals. You felt all over the place emotionally. So that was what was creating blocks with the 8 of Wands in reverse. You both wanted this rapid movement forward. 3 of Wands in reverse. You're both waiting for this alignment. You're both waiting for the time where things could be more harmonious, when the ship could come in, you could board that ship, you could get this relationship off the ground. But there's a sense that this person walked away because they became really disheartened as well. And they felt like they couldn't wait any longer. They felt as though if they were waiting, they'd be waiting forever. And it's because there was this codependent dynamic here, is what I'm picking up on. And so you were holding on to each other in a certain way, but you weren't fully coming together. You weren't fully aligning, because it's like you were coming together partially, but through the comfort zone. Like neither of you knew how to take that leap of faith out of the comfort zone. Neither of you were fully venturing out of that comfort zone. And so there was this energy of you staying put where you were, but then just daydreaming about each other from afar. And it couldn't go on like that. So another reason why this person walked away is because it was part of the soul contract. You know, the universe couldn't keep you, couldn't have you both staying in this stagnant vibration, going around in circles. They couldn't keep you in this codependent kind of energy. So it's almost like your biggest fears came true, and there was a tower moment to make you go your separate ways. But that's what got you out of stagnation. For many of you, that's what made you be honest with yourself. For many of you, that's what made you face your biggest fears in order to heal that heartbreak. For you to know your own worth. For you to realize that perhaps you were projecting some childhood wounds into this relationship, and all things like that. My attempts to impress you and keep you with me got out of hand. I dug myself into a hole I couldn't get myself out of. So yeah, this person was wearing a lot of masks. They tried to live up to your unrealistic expectations. And you know, they may have had some unrealistic expectations of you as well. But yeah, this person tried to impress you. They may have felt as though they couldn't get too close to you, because then that would sort of, what's the word? That would break their cover. That would, you know, burst the bubble of the illusion they were creating when they were trying to mold themselves to be what they thought you wanted them to be. So it's really kind of ironic in a sense. They really wanted to be close to you. They wanted this reconciliation. And some of them may still want this, but there was a lot of fears, a lot of sleepless nights, because they just really feared that the real them was not magnificent enough, was not fantastical enough, you know, wasn't in alignment with that fantasy that you may have had of them. And so they were really worried. Like, they wanted to take a leap of faith. They wanted to make things work with you, but they were just petrified of losing you. And so in order to keep you in their life in some kind of way, they chose this devil energy, which in the traditional tarot shows the two lovers chained to the devil. So it's about a relationship. It's like an unbreakable bond, but it's a lot of shadow, a lot of fear, a relationship based on fear, you know, and attachment and codependency because of those fears. And so subconsciously it may, you know, your connection may have just fallen into this kind of energy of codependency and fear. But in a way, it's like you both felt as though at least we have each other in some way in this dynamic. There was a fear of breaking free of the attachment, the codependency, because there was a fear that your relationship would completely, you know, dissolve. The bonds would completely dissolve. And so deep down, the thing that was blocking you both was a part of you wanting to hold on to each other in that codependent way, because you felt, well, at least we have each other in some kind of way. The way you've been taught how to love men, or it could be women, is all wrong. I need to be shown love in a different way. So this is all about, this person felt as though you were loving them in the way that you wanted to be loved. You may have been very nurturing. You may have been very compassionate, very kind, very considerate, very patient. You may have been doing a lot of things to make this relationship work. And in your eyes, that may have been a very loving thing to do. You may have felt as though that was ensuring the connection wouldn't ever fall apart. You felt as though the more that you did, the more it would kind of bind you together, kind of thing. The more that you did, the more that you gave, the more this person would feel as though you're the one for them. You know, you're trying to prove yourself too much. But all that over-giving, you know, you may have felt that was a very loving thing to do, but indirectly or subconsciously, it was making this person feel rejected, because they felt as though you were putting in all the work because you didn't trust that they were capable of really being there for you. They thought you didn't really see them as being capable of being a good provider. And they really wanted to be a good provider. They really want, that's a really deep emotional need. And some of you may be saying, well, why didn't they give more then? It's because they didn't feel that they had anything more to give. I feel as though this person was in a place of, low self-esteem. They didn't feel like they had much to give you. And if you were giving and giving and giving, then they, that kind of highlighted to them even more that they felt they didn't have much to give you in return. And yeah, they felt as though you didn't really believe in their capabilities, so that's why you did all the work and that you played their role for them, sort of thing. And that made them feel emasculated in certain ways as well. You saw me as the bad guy. That pissed me off, and I rebelled by doing what you expected me to do. So they may have felt a bit controlled by you. If you were putting in all this work, if you felt as though you knew what was best for this person, if you felt like you knew what this person should be doing, and if you were giving and giving and giving to kind of give this person the hint that they should be giving back to you in that kind of way, they felt as though you were running away with the connection, that you were trying to force things, and they felt as though perhaps you didn't really know what their true needs were, and that maybe you weren't as bothered about their true needs rather than, having your own needs met, kind of thing. And so they felt annoyed by that. They felt, whatever we chase runs away from us. Whatever we try to force resists us. They were in resistance because they felt like you were trying to take charge, is what I'm feeling. And, that can create a lot of confusion. I don't know if any of you have experienced it the other way around, when someone's trying to force you into a relationship, or someone else is much more sure that they want to be with you, and they're like really eager, and they may be getting annoyed at you if you're not doing what they want you to do, kind of thing. And they're not giving you any time or space to really decide for yourself if you genuinely want to be with this person. And because they keep giving and doing and expecting and trying to push you or pull you in, you're thinking, do I genuinely really want to be with this person, or is it just because I'm feeling pressured that I feel like I should say yes? And that can keep you stuck in a place of confusion and not really knowing how you genuinely feel. So that may also have contributed to some of you of this person being on the fence and not knowing what to do. There is a sense that this person chose someone else. I couldn't live up to a fantasy, so I ran away to be with someone who was a little more realistic of my capabilities. So they may have needed to make a choice and they didn't know what to do. Three of Swords could be a third party situation. And the Seven of Cups is about options as well. They may have felt like things just weren't working out between you. They may have felt like it was too much of a mountain to climb in order to overcome the obstacles, especially if they felt as though you had all these high expectations of them that they felt like they couldn't meet or they couldn't live up to. So they may have got really disheartened, and someone else may have come along where it just seemed much more easier. It just kind of happened like that, like really easily, and they may have just felt like there wasn't all this pressure on them in that other relationship. So, and thank you so much